Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Madeline Bierster.
Pecos-Barstow-Toya ISD has quite the reason to celebrate. Less than a week ago, the district officially broke ground on their new elementary school. Governor, can you tell us what you're doing to protect those energy jobs in our state, especially here in West Texas? There was a lot of people that came out today. People from all across West Texas came out to show support for Governor Greg Abbott and his campaign. I was there today as Beto talked to voters and answered some key questions on the mind of Texans. He talked about the need for better pay for teachers. Evening, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of ABC Big 2 News at 5. We're live here at the Ector County Coliseum for the Permian Basin International Oil Show. Tonight at 10, the search for a missing teen continues almost 5 years later. We're hearing from her family about the disappearance and how hope is still alive. And this helps students in the graduate degree program get Texas principal certifications. UTPB will partner with our local school districts and charter schools as well. Surprised, excited, and humbled were all words used by Dr. Mary when he heard the news. Today is Teacher Appreciation Day. Over the past year, Pioneer has helped sponsor our Teacher Surprise Squad.
As this bill now moves to the House for a vote, all while educators across the state remain hopeful.
Owned and operated by the city of Midland, Midland International Airport has more than 20 daily departures and is served by Southwest, American, and United. Pink jerseys are the vibe tonight. Tell me about this.
Yeah, Pink in the Rink, supporting breast cancer awareness.
Spokesperson for the entire fair. Big job to say the least. So how is this year different? Obviously, you know from last year with the cancellation due to COVID. How is this year different?
You're mad at me.
I'm not mad at you.
Because I have called and called and called for help.
I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at her and sad at her.
It's an update to a story we've been following closely on ABC Big 2 News. A Hobbs mother is in jail after police say she stabbed her son and then herself. Her son died from the wounds, but she's been recovering in the hospital ever since. Good evening, I'm Madeline Bierster.
And I'm Carson Bush-Jost. With Mary Johnson now behind bars, we obtained the body cam footage as well as the 911 calls the day of that stabbing.
And tonight we're taking a closer look at the investigation and a warning for some. This may be hard to watch. Here's that special report.
My wife has stabbed my son and herself.
A calm night turned tragic quickly after Lee County deputies say Mary Johnson stabbed her 11-year-old son, Bruce Johnson Jr., then herself in the middle of the night on July 10th.
He's stabbed in the back. He's got one knife sticking out of him right now. Yeah, the knife in his backbone is deep. It's all the way in.
Yes, okay.
The one on his rib cage is not moving much at all, bleeding much.
In the police affidavit, Bruce Jr. told police while in the hospital that his mom stabbed him. He died just hours later around 4 o'clock in the morning. Medical examiners believe he was stabbed 8 times. You can also hear this in the body cam footage released to us.
Dad loves you.
As Bruce Jr. is being carried on a stretcher to the ambulance. After 11 days in the hospital, Mary, however, survived the self-inflicted stab wounds. Since being released from the hospital, Mary was sent to the Lubbock County Detention Center. Jail records show she was there for around a week until she was moved to the Lee County Detention Center and charged with an open count of murder in the first degree. We did speak to someone close to the family who wanted to remain anonymous. This person has also seen the body cam footage released by the sheriff's office.
Because it was a lot to kind of go through with the stomach, and even just hearing it was a big deal.
The 911 call reveals many details into what happened that early morning inside the home on North Del Paso Street.
Yes, she stabbed my son, and she stabbed herself. Just stay right there and don't move, Bruce. Okay?
The 911 call and police reports reveal Bruce Sr. initially found his son with stab wounds after he woke up to screaming. After checking on his son, he searched the house for his wife, who he found in the kitchen.
He's stabbed in the chest.
I know.
Okay, is she breathing?
She moved her head when I walked up. Yes, she's breathing.
Bruce Sr. told deputies Mary had 2 small stab wounds and 2 bigger ones, but it was unclear what happened to the knife Mary apparently used on herself.
And where is the knife now? Is it the one that's still in your son? Bruce? Bruce, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, is the only knife she had, is it the one that's in your son?
No.
No?
There's no knife in her.
Between the blood and where it was, and he allegedly had different knives, or I guess that he said that there were different knives, that in that moment, at that night. But when the deputies are talking, they can only find the one. The physics of that just don't add up to me.
When was the last time? Did you ever see the knife that she used on herself?
No, I don't know what
happened to that?
It's the same knife she used on my son. I don't know.
Well, that one was still in the back, correct?
Yeah, my son's stabbed in the back and it's sticking out of him.
Yes, sir.
Is there blood going from the kitchen to his room?
I don't know. I hadn't looked at the floor. I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting discrepancies from what other people are told and what he texted other people to what the body cam footage states.
The source says Bruce Sr. has been in constant contact with his wife, Mary, ever since her arrest.
The fact that he put money on her phone books as well as on commissary really surprised me.
Bruce Sr.'s granddaughter lives on that street. Her and her husband came over once they saw ambulances. Bruce's granddaughter, Madison, can be heard in the body cam footage telling her grandfather, "You've got to protect him."
You've got to protect him.
As we previously reported, family members shared with us that Mary had a history of mental problems and would not take her medication.
I hate to say evil, but there were points where you could see something evil in her eyes. Like there was a disconnect. It was empty. There was something just not right.
That was confirmed by Bruce Sr. in the body cam footage.
My wife is bipolar and probably schizophrenic.
Okay.
Does she take medication for any of those?
She won't take it.
She doesn't take her medication?
Investigators also had to photograph Bruce Sr.'s hands as he told investigators he had to help find where Mary was stabbed on her torso.
The one thing I noticed is that he said he allegedly helped her.
Sure you're not cut or anything like that.
There's a few people that he's mentioned that to.
It was dark in the kitchen, that's why you didn't see her, right?
But if you look at him and you look at his hands, they were mostly clean. Different because if there was allegedly a pint of blood on the floor where she was, there would have been more than just a few drops.
The source we spoke with has spoken with Mary since her arrest.
She knows why she's in there because I asked, do you know why you're in there? She knows why she's in there. I haven't asked anything beyond that because I don't know if I want to know. I don't want to know if I remember or if she remembers, what happened that night. I don't want to know if she did it. I don't want to hear her say it yet. I'm not ready for that yet.
The Lee County Detention Center says Mary was arraigned in the Lovington Magistrate Court on Thursday, and the DA's office has filed a pretrial detention motion in her case. No bond has been set as of now.
You've been following this story closely. What is her status now in the detention center in Lee County?
Right now, we know the jail confirms she is in the medical unit there, and family members confirm that's because of the mental concern that's there. Of course, we will follow this case throughout a trial if that happens and what comes next in the investigation. Teresa Wagner was last seen on the night of January 10th, 1992, at an Odessa nightclub by the name of West LA. She was out partying and dancing with friends.
She'd been out to a club on 8th Street with some of her friends. That's the kind of things that they did back then. There was a whole strip of clubs that were down 8th Street and Grandview right there, so they were going back and forth to different clubs, which was typical back in that day.
Susan Rogers, the CEO of Odessa Crime Stoppers, says that would be the last time anyone saw her.
Everybody kind of went their own ways, and they thought she had gone home. And one of them went by her parents' house the next day, which is where she lived with her 2 children, and they said she had not come home.
Fast forward 46 days. On February 25th, her body was found in West Ector County, about a half a mile north of I-20, near FM 866, on an oil field lease road. She was just 25 years old.
The guy was out checking the leases and was driving by and thought that there was actually a dead animal out there. And as he got closer, he realized that it wasn't an animal, called the sheriff's office, and it kind of formed from there.
Since her decomposition was so far along, few clues were left behind for investigators, and there were no obvious signs of murder.
They were not able to determine her manner of death or cause of death. She had no, gunshot wound, no stab stuff that they could see, stab wounds that they could determine were there. So her cause of death was just listed as undetermined.
Eventually, the sheriff's office put out a picture of the tattoo Teresa had on her shoulder of a Pegasus.
That tattoo ultimately helped identify her, and her parents were able to identify her.
Investigators strongly believe foul play was involved, but an extensive investigation eventually turned cold. Teresa had 2 small children at the time of her death, who are now young adults. Rogers is hoping someone remembers something about Teresa or from back in that time.
Someone will see it, someone will hear it, and they'll think, gosh, I remember that. I remember her from back then. And, I just wasn't comfortable talking to law enforcement at that time. You knew anything about her. You might not have been there that night, but was she having a problem with anybody? Did you, see anything? Something will pop in one of them's mind and, somebody's mind, and they'll think, well, maybe that's got something to do with it. And I never told anybody. So, that kind of information is what we're looking for.
Rogers says there were several cases similar to Teresa's in the early 90s, but that someone out there knows how she ended up in an oil field lease after a night out. She says the smallest information could help.
Was she seeing somebody? Did you see her leave that evening with someone? Did you happen to be there that night and see her talking to somebody? And then remember when it showed up that she was the missing person that was found out there, then, and just never told anybody.